Hey y'all, first of all, I just want to say, if you follow my channel, I'm so sorry for the lack of content last week. There was a whole moment of chaos that had to be dealt with, and thankfully that chaos has been dealt with, thank the goddess, because Hecate takes care of her own, and if you know, you know. So I can breathe a little easier and get back to making content and, educating and all of the things. So, not last week, because we just talked about that. Last video, we talked about white magic, gray magic, black magic, and I attempted to dispel some myths and some long held beliefs regarding the use of black magic and why maybe it's not as bad as everybody thinks that it is. Okay, because again, if you missed that video, definitely go back and watch it. But black magic is sometimes necessary to protect ourselves and those we love, because white magic just isn't always going to do the job. Okay, and so this week, I want to teach you guys how to do a freezer spell correctly. Now, a lot of times you'll see somebody doing a freezer spell with just water and intention. And a lot of times those are baby witches, or, sometimes you just don't have the equipment or the things that you need to do a correct freezer spell laying around the house. And that's okay. Okay. If you find that water and intention in the freezer works for you, I'm not going to tell you don't do that, because I think that sometimes a spell that simple has its place. If you're just trying to stop someone in their tracks, if all you have laying around the house is a jar, some water, a picture, piece of paper, whatever, and your freezer, sometimes I think that could be useful, in that maybe you're just trying to stop somebody in their tracks. Maybe they're talking shit about you, or they're just being a nuisance or whatever. Maybe something that simple can work at just deterring somebody or stopping them in their tracks, essentially literally freezing them so that they don't bother you anymore. However, if you've got somebody who is legitimately causing you to experience a lot of trauma or anxiety, if they're messing up your actual life, if they are moving in a way that is going to cause serious harm, if they are being destructive toward you, you need something a little more potent than water in a jar in your freezer. Okay? And that is where this particular spell is going to come in and be a lot more handy than that. And I will admit, if you don't have these particular ingredients laying around the house, it is going to require a trip to the store. And that's okay, because the ingredients that I'm going to give you really aren't difficult to come by. You could make a trip to your local supermarket, and any supermarket is going to carry these things. You can support blue leaning supermarkets and still get these ingredients, because they're not weird, they're not out there, it's not going to require you to do a lot of hunting or anything like that. Very simple to find and very, very effective. In fact, I used this particular spell just recently. So I'm going to show you how to do it, and I assure you it will work. If your intentions are strong and you believe that it will work. Because isn't that always the one caveat of our magic? We have to know going in that it's going to work. Our intentions have to be strong. We have to believe that it's going to work. Otherwise, it doesn't matter what ingredients we throw into a jar, a pot, into the ground, whatever. It's just not going to work. There have been times when I myself have been like, I would like to perform this spell, but I know that I'm not going to because I do not have the correct energy right now to put into it, because I know that my energy is not going to work with this particular spell at this moment. I've got to find a workaround. I've got to find a different spell, whatever, because what I've got in me isn't going to work right now. So let's do this spell. I'll show you step by step how to do it. And it is so effective, like literally within 24 hours, you'll probably see results. So easy peasy. Let's do it. There are a couple ways to conduct a freezer spell and a couple of variations in ingredients that you can use. For instance, instead of vinegar, you can use salt water, depending on the effect that you want to give. Vinegar is going to be sour when they want to speak ill of you, whereas a salt water is going to put a bitter taste in their mouths. I particularly prefer vinegar, so that's what I've got here, just a white vinegar. I also like to use some chili peppers, lemon, and some pieces of broken glass, because I'm hella vengeful that way. You also need, well, I've got some blank paper right here. Now, that is also depending on what you can get your hands on situation. If you don't have a picture of your target, you can write their name on a piece of paper, or if you're a good artiste, you can draw something that is their likeness on a piece of paper. At any rate, this is where I like to start with this. Now, once you've got their name or their likeness on the paper, you want to fold it up. I like to fold it up multiple times. And depending on how hateful you are, sometimes I want to spit in it. That just depends on how angry I actually am at this person. Then I stick it in my jar. Once the paper is in my jar, that's when I add my glass. Now, this isn't glass, actually. These are broken pieces of mirror. What I actually did was just got a cheap mirror and broke it. So I've got my pieces of mirror, and you use these so that the person has to face the wrongs that they have done. And I try to put them on all four sides of the jar to represent the four corners. And for the love of the goddess, please do not cut yourself on the glass. Once you've got those in, I like to add some lemon. Now, the lemon, you can cut up into smaller pieces. You can make them larger. It totally depends on what you prefer. The lemon we add because this is going to keep them far, far away from you. It basically acts as a deterrent or a shield. It's going to keep them away from you, keep them at a distance. You don't want them coming to you. I'm assuming that if you're doing this spell, it is not a person that you want to come in contact with. So definitely the lemon is something that you don't want to leave out of this spell. Now, I also like to add the chili peppers. These are not fresh, they're dried chili peppers. I like to use these because I can just keep them in jars in my at-home apothecary, and they're always ready whenever I need them. I use the chili peppers so that if anybody gets squirrely, they're going to feel a little pain as retribution for their actions and their behavior. If they want to keep acting up and keep initiating bad behavior in my direction, those chili peppers are going to make them feel a little bit of pain and maybe remind them that I am not the one. I'm just not. Okay. So last but not least, we want to take our vinegar and fill up our jar. And of course, our ingredients are trying to escape. And what I like to do is put the lid on and just maybe give it a little shaky shake. Make sure that everything is covered. And then we're not done yet. I know it looks like we're done, but we're not done yet. This is another one where you've got the option on how to finish this spell. Some people like to drop some black candle wax on the edges to seal the jar. And as they do that, that's when they do their incantation. To put some karmic retribution onto their target. I personally like to do my binding with a length of string. And in this case, what I do is wrap it around a few times. And I make sure that I leave enough for a few knots. Typically, as I'm wrapping, I do the I bind you section of the spell. And then as I'm knotting, I ask for my karmic retribution. Ooh, it came loose. And make sure that you're focusing all of your intent and all of your energy as you're tying the knots tightly. And I continue to tie the knots until I feel that I'm done with my spell. End it as you will, so mote it be, as I wish, however you feel comfortable ending the spell. And at the end, you just pop it in the freezer, and that's where it lives until you feel the spell is complete. Now, I'm not going to lie. I will personally let somebody sit in my freezer for a very long time. I once had somebody in there for like literal years because I'm not trying to risk ending a freezer spell too early and then having somebody start their shit all over again. I'm not the one, and I'm not making any risks, and I just don't have time or patience to deal with all that. But the question arises. If you do one of these spells and you've used vinegar or salt water as a base, what do you do? Like once you're done with this spell? Because if you pour vinegar or salt water onto the earth or you try to bury it, you're gonna wreck your ground. Okay? It's gonna kill any kind of plant or soil or whatever if you try to do that. Don't do that because your plant life is going to cry. So my best recommendation would be to strain the contents so that your vinegar, your salt water, whatever you've decided to use as a base, into the toilet and flush that shit because you are done with it. And then the rest of it, toss it out the trash, like the person you were just dealing with. Let it all be metaphorical. You're flushing their shit and you're tossing them out with the trash. And then be done with it. Finished. So anyway, I hope that this is useful. I know that a lot of people are very hesitant about baneful magic. I know that it just makes some of us a little bit uneasy. But if you protect yourself first, call upon your god or goddess, do some smudging before and after, because you don't want any of that negative energy hanging around your place. And then, make sure that you're good, you're protected, you've lit a candle, you've done all of the protection things, and then do your spell, smudge, clean it up, and then once they're in the freezer, forget about them, cut them off. You're done with them, okay? You're done. Don't let them continue to infiltrate your brain or your life or anything else. That's it. You're done. Let the spell and the universe and everything else take care of them, because it will. It will. I promise. Anyway, I hope that this is useful. Don't be afraid of baneful magic, as long as you have the confidence and the knowledge and the will to know that this is not something to be afraid of. And again, if you haven't already, go watch my previous video about white, gray, and black magic, because I'd like to think that we had a good discussion on it, and that maybe I dispelled some myths about that. And if you haven't already, I would really love it if you clicked like and subscribe. I've gotten some new subscribers, but very few likes on my videos. So please like them. And, until next time, we'll talk soon. Bye.